We're about to dive into the Bellator 266 betting preview presented to you by MyFitFoods Denver. Eat fit, live fit, give a fit. Go to www.myfitfoods.com. Currently, all orders above $100 will get you free shipping. So, Josh, I'm pumped to see this Bellator card because we're getting the debut of an MMA superstar, the soldier of God, the genetic freak, one of the biggest boogeymen to ever make the walk. Add to it that he is also an Olympic silver medalist. You get to see the promotional debut of Yoel Romero.
Man, I got chills thinking about that because when you put Yoel Romero in the cage, literally anything can happen. The dude is a genetic freak, like you said, silver medalist in the Olympics. We've seen him knock out people in the most crazy ways imaginable, and for him, he's making his debut in Bellator against a tough Phil Davis, NCAA wrestler from Penn State,
friend of the show,
champion,
Mr. Wonderful.
Mr. Wonderful. That's going to be a fun fight. I kind of want to see Yoel dialed back the clock, and let's see the old Yoel out here. Let's get some exciting, explosive moves going on.
Well, Josh, I think that we are going to see a little bit more of that explosive nature come back to Yoel's game one, because I think that he's going to want to, just naturally, he's going to want to put on a show in his debut.
Mm-hmm.
But to address the elephant in the room, he doesn't have to cut the extra 20 pounds. He's able to fight at 205 pounds. So with him not having to just squeeze and deplete himself that much more in his mid-40s, because let's be real, we don't know how old Yoel is. We don't know how old any of
the
those
scientists in Cuba don't even know that answer.
Exactly. So with that being said, him not having to cut that extra 20 pounds, I think, is going to lead to him having a little bit more of that energy to go on those vintage Yoel sprints and bursts.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun to see if he can pull that off against Phil Davis, because Phil Davis can just drop over, take a double leg, and take you down, hold you down, beat you. So,
but can he hold Yoel down? Is the big question.
That is the question that needs
Josh,
to be answered.
just like you mentioned, though, in that regard, this is my take to it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. Yes, Phil Davis may only be the national champion in relation to Yoel being the Olympic silver medalist, so there's very definitely levels to it.
Yeah.
But sometimes, you may not go through all that wrestling-specific training the way that you once did, and especially as old as Yoel is at this stage. I digress. But I say this, that Phil Davis's key to success is going to be wrestling. He needs to try to wrestle Yoel. He cannot get into a slugfest with Yoel Romero. He cannot give Yoel space to jump a flying knee. Ask Gegard Mousasi. Ask Chris Weidman. Ask any of these guys how that worked out for them.
Yeah, you can't. And it even though Yoel has a higher pedigree of wrestling, do we even really ever see Yoel wrestle in the cage? Not often. He's more of just an athletic, like, I'm going to knock you out in a crazy way. We don't really see him use too much wrestling. Whereas Phil Davis, in a lot of his fights, wrestling is a main component to the recipe of his wins.
Right. And I think that it may be a sense of Yoel has shifted within his game plan because his striking has became, so much of a part of what he's done in these later stages that he uses his wrestling more on the defensive side of things to keep him up and to keep him on the feet.
Yeah.
But make no mistake about it, if he wants to send you for a ride and go for 5 points, Yoel Romero can still very well do that. You want to talk about ankle picking? That guy can ankle pick the biggest, best of the boys out there.
Oh, yeah.
And just unashamedly be able to do it.
That was one of the sickest highlights of his, just ankle picking that dude in his UFC fight. Like,
yes.
One of the best highlights ever.
I mean, you could just point to so many different highlights of Yoel Romero, and I don't mean to slight Phil Davis in the slightest, but Yoel Romero is one of the biggest, I feel like, fan favorites of this modern era of MMA.
Of course, and you would not be wrong in saying that.
I love you, Mike. I love you. Don't forget Jesus. But that's for everybody that remembers the infamous call out along with Michael Bisping, and then the trade back and forth. I really wish that was a fight that we could have seen when it was still in the fold. But,
yeah.
Some things just never come to fruition there.
Never gonna happen.
Let's get to the picks, Josh. What do you have for your pick?
I don't know a ton of people on this Bellator card. I'll be honest with you, but I am gonna throw out a pick here. All feelings.
I mean, as far as Yoel and Phil.
Oh, that is what I was getting towards. I'm leaning towards all feelings, no facts here, just because I'm a huge fan of Yoel Romero. I'm going Yoel Romero. Crazy knockout. That's what I'm going for.
Okay.
First round. I'm going to go first round because I just think that he has the explosiveness. Like I said, he's not cutting all that weight. He's not depleting himself. He's going to have it. I'm going to go first round knockout.
I actually love that pick.
And he's
I
also
think that you're kind of a sicko for thinking that right
I'm a
off the
sicko.
gate. But I like where your head's at. We're both some degenerates for the violence in that regard.
We are.
No, if we're talking the co-main event, we're going to see a little bit of a difference in styles. We're seeing a strong jiu-jitsu specialist who carries the name synonymous with jiu-jitsu, and Neiman Gracie. He's taking on Mark Lemminger. What do you think?
You know, like you said, that's a Gracie. The end of the last name Gracie is synonymous with just greatness. Neiman Gracie coming next to Mark Lemminger. You know, Mark Lemminger is coming off a good win against DeMarcus Jackson, and DeMarcus Jackson is no pushover. He's a tough dude. He's scrappy. It's nicknamed Scrap Iron. But I'm leaning more towards Gracie. I mean, it's just hard to get past that jiu-jitsu, no matter how good you are, how tough you are. There's just some people who just have it.
And Neiman he's long and lanky for the division. He's got, when you look at him, you don't think that, oh man, this guy's such a menacing killer, because at times he's almost like soft-bodied.
Mm-hmm.
He's never really completely, ripped or someone that you look at and you say like, oh man, like he's not Yoel, let's say.
He's
when
very
you look at him
unassuming.
in that regard. But then he gets in there and he gets a hand on you, and if he can get a hook in, bro, it's a tough night for anybody out there.
And that's the beautiful thing about jiu-jitsu is you don't have to look like a Yoel Romero to be good at it and be dangerous with it.
Certainly. So that being said, I think that you already gave your lean
going
right there.
I'm going with Gracie. I can't lean in on a pick like round. I don't have a round, but I do think that Neiman's going to be able to get a finish here.
I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb and say that you're going to go with a submission.
Knockout. Submission. I'm sorry. I'm playing. No, Gracie by submission.
Got me blown away over here trying to say that a jiu-jitsu guy is getting the knockout against the guy who has some pop in his hands, but crazier things have happened out there, folks. Yeah, I think that this week we're pretty in line with where we're seeing how the action in a couple of these fights are going to go. It's not that Mark is not a strong competitor out there.
Very strong.
He has some very quality wins on his resume. I just don't think that it's going to be enough to overtake Neiman Gracie, who Gracie was, he was able to advance in that welterweight Grand Prix tournament that Bellator had. Obviously, he didn't win it all, but he was a guy who was of that caliber to be in consideration in the first place, and was able to do his thing for a minute. Now, if we take a look at a feature as far as this Bellator card goes, Josh, who do you have your eyes on, or what is a pick that you maybe just feeling like, I want to take a little leap. I'm feeling froggy.
Jordan, on this card, there's some quotes that come to mind for a couple of my philosophers out there. To find yourself, you must think for yourself. And another one is, the unexamined life is not worth living. So, all feelings, no facts. The feature that I have on this card is Socrates Hernandez going up against Pedro Juarez. Socrates is, let's be honest, I'm picking him because his name's Socrates. I have a minor in philosophy. I love Socrates. He's sitting at a plus 175. That means he's an underdog, guys. I'm always for the underdog here. So I'm going with Socrates Hernandez.
Socrates. There you have it right there, folks. Now, that's one that may not jump off the page right there for you, because not a lot of people have that name or have the familiarity with Socrates in the Bellator ranks. But you heard it first here from Josh Fremd. Me personally, I'm going to put the spotlight on Grant Neal. Grant Neal, he has a tough fight out there against Polisi. Polisi is a guy who made his mark in the LFA ranks, and it's going to be a tough opponent. It's going to be a good test for Grant Neal, but Grant Neal is undefeated and he's been able to win in impressive fashion on many of occasions, and I think that's for a reason. Grant Neal trains out of here in Denver, Colorado through Genesis, as well as he trains with Elevation, and the kid is solid. He's got very high level tools and high level training partners that is only continuing to build his skill set and propel him into the upper echelon and working toward being a potential contender in those Bellator ranks.
Yeah, and Pelosi is a good dancing partner for him to go out and show that. Pelosi had a great run in LFA, and since he's been in Bellator, he's been showing really good signs of being not a contender, but like a strong fighter, like a strong opponent in those fights. So
yeah, Polisi has multiple wins already underneath the Bellator banner there. So with that being said, it's going to be a good test. It's a guy who I believe Polisi he has 11 total wins on his pro career, something in that range. So it's someone that's going to be a good test, to see if he's ready to take that step to the next level. But I also think it's worth keeping your eyes on Eddie Absolo. Eddie Absolo is a converted professional boxer kickboxer who trains out of CSA up there in California. So I'm interested in seeing how that one may play out.
Yeah, interested in how that one plays out. It's always nice when you see a kickboxer convert over to MMA and test out the waters. A lot of them do very well. Not all of them do that great.
Not all, but stick around after the break, folks. We're going to get into some current events. This is the MMA Plug presented to you by DenverSportsBetting.com on 98.1 FM Mile High Sports Radio. I am Jordan Kurtz, sitting alongside Josh Fremd.
Yeah, little thick bitch, fine little mamacita. Always coolin' by the pool, drinking margaritas. Yeah, it's pippin' over here and we ain't trippin' over pesos. I know it's good now, but luego